What's the story of this iconic artwork for Abba's third album, simply called Abba? What happened to that car and where is this hotel? Let's find out in today's episode, where we take an in-depth look at the history and making of this iconic album's artwork. Come with me to 1975. Here we are in front of the hotel. Abba took the photograph inside this hotel. The photo was used on the backside of their third album, Abba, in 1975. We see them pompously well dressed. There's a story behind that, we will talk about it, but first let's see how the reception area of the hotel looks today. This hotel was called Castle Hotel back in the day. Today it's called Hotel Riddargatan, the name of the street. But how much has really changed? Let's go inside. So this is it. You might say, wait a minute, this looks way too different. And you are right, it changed completely, even the doors and windows are rebuilt. But this is the hotel and reception area where Abba was. The reason why they chose this hotel in the first place was actually because of its original vintage atmosphere of the 1930s. But as much as this hotel has changed, some very minor things seem to have survived in some ways. First of all, the dining room next to the reception has some remote vibes of that vintage time. This is also where jazz music used to be played. The chandelier we see in Abba's picture is not there any longer, but if you take a look at this entrance area, we get to see a magnificent chandelier. It's not the same one, but it is a distant reminder of the Abba picture. Much more interesting is the shape of this entrance door and window behind the chandelier. This may or may not be a leftover of the original round-shaped construction that we also see in Abba's photograph. One of Abba's most loyal photographers, Ola Lager, took the photographs, and he said about the back cover that they wanted to create a 30s or 40s feeling, a kind of film star romantic view. For the photograph, Abba had to stand completely still and couldn't laugh because Ola Lager was experimenting with the light of the reception area. One of our friends, Ray Wright, mentioned how they must have used a slow shutter speed on the camera because Björn's food had moved. Indeed, if we take a closer look, we can see how Björn's food is in double focus. Someone else wrote this: I think the double image of Björn's one shoe is because he was tapping his food when the photo was taken, so that it captured that bit of staged action, as perhaps suggested by the photographer. Perhaps it was in sync with the waiting in anticipation while Benny looks to be booking them in at the hotel reception desk. The whole picture with those details and the overall color and light has this kind of dreamy atmosphere. Agneta is the only Abba member looking directly into the camera, along with a woman at the reception. The legs of the otherwise unseen woman in the foreground belong to Rosemary Ferguson. Thank you to Chelsea Charger for letting me know. She is not only the mother of Swedish actress Rebecca Ferguson, but apparently she helped Abba with the English lyrics for Waterloo.
She went through all of the lyrics in Swedish and helped rewrite them to English, Waterloo. So if there's any mistakes, it's her fault. She hung a lot with the kind of avant-garde, cool people like Abba back in the day. I think she was dating a man called Ron Spalding, and he took all of their cover images of their LPs. Yeah. Actually, she is on one of the covers.
The staff of this hotel was so nice and allowed me to film for this video. They actually had no idea that Abba was here in 1975, and they were really curious to know more about it. I think they should put Abba's album on the wall of this reception area. Just an idea. Make sure to visit Hotel Ridagata next time. This is the surrounding where Abba came and went. So what about Abba's car? Where was it and what's the story? Before we visit that location, it's important to understand why Abba is pictured like that on their third album. The cultural climate in Sweden at the time in regards to Abba was actually quite averse, if not even hostile. There was a dominant musical movement in Sweden called prog, which means progressivism, the progress to improve civilization. This left-wing movement was political and anti-commercial. The political message was important, not so much the music. Basically, all the complete opposite of Abba, for which they were criticized in Sweden. That being said, there were of course many Swedish people who were very fond of Abba. So the cover for Abba's third album became an ironic comment to that criticism of the prog movement. Here they were, all dressed up, sitting in a limousine, drinking champagne, surrounded by fans, and on the reverse, pompously staged in a classy hotel environment. Abba was far away from actually living a life in luxury. They were approachable and family-oriented. And yet, depicting this luxurious life of superstars was considered provocative back then in Sweden's cultural climate, and many didn't even get the irony of the cover. In the very same year, the Swedish prog group Peps Blodsband released their second album, translated as High Standards, and made a parody of Abba's irony. Jammed in the backseat of a Volkswagen and looking more like hobos that drink coffee out of a thermos bottle, dressed in jeans and shorts. Ironically, this photo was taken by Bengt H. Malmqvist, one of Abba's exclusive photographers, and the layout was designed by Peter Viking. Both of them actually created the artwork for Abba's first album, Ring Ring. So now, we have this ironic comment from Abba for their third album cover. It's also interesting that this and the backside in the hotel make it one of the very few Abba albums that show Abba with other people. The only other album is, of course, Super Trooper and basically Waterloo, where we see Napoleon, at least from behind. On the front cover for Abba, only Björn and Benny look directly into the camera, along with the person in the back. So let's go back to the actual shooting day of this famous artwork and explore more about the creation of this picture and the history of that car. This street here is quite busy, so Abba went around the corner where it is much quieter. And they parked the famous car right there under that building. That is, according to the Abba Guide to Stockholm, this is supposed to be the address. The book says that the car was standing exactly under this flagpole. Now, something doesn't quite line up with this address. The only clue to the actual location of this main artwork is given with these two windows in the background. They are very close to each other, and one of them is sprayed into a 3 rectangular way, with a marquee over each window. Comparing these windows with the address we have, the windows here don't match at all. I'm not saying that the book is wrong or that I distrust the photographer if those were his memories. However, if we turn around from this place and go a bit up on this very street, that building over there has windows that seem to match those from the artwork. The only thing that is missing is the marquee over each window, but those might have been there in 1975. So is this the actual spot where the main artwork was taken? Interestingly enough, just 300 meters away, there is another building with a matching configuration of windows. That one even has the marquee. However, the color of the wall and the surface don't seem to match, and I'm wondering if these windows are a little too high. On the artwork, they seem to be more on an eye level. Intriguingly, when we turn to the left from here, we can see the building that would become Abba's Polar office in the summer of that year, 1975. There it is, right in the background. So if they were here, or even in the other street not far away, I wonder if Stig Andersson might have put his eyes on that building when they took those photo shots. Or was it the other way around? Did they end up in this neighborhood because Stig Andersson had already found the office and thought that the neighborhood was a suitable surrounding for the shot? In any way, they were here for the album shoot in and around this area, and they rented an office in this street where Abba could change into their shiny dresses. The people you can see looking through the car windows are actual passers-by from that day who were asked if they wanted to take part in the photo shooting. A few years ago, one of them actually spoke out. The girl on the far left revealed herself and gave a fascinating insight into the shooting process of that day. Her name is Helen, and her friend Susanne called her one day. "Do you want to appear on Abba's new album cover?" she asked. "Are you serious?" Helen said. Susanne's father knew people in the music industry, and so Susanne was asked to help with the shoot. They turned up at the PR company's offices in Stockholm to change their wardrobe. Afterwards, they went into the street where Abba was waiting. "They look so glamorous," Helen said. She reported that Björn had to sit on some phone directories because he was shorter than the others. In between photos, Abba chatted to them. Agneta and Frida were so nice and down to earth, but Benny was the friendliest, laughing and cracking jokes. The photo shoot took a couple of hours. Today, Helen is a hairdresser living in Australia together with her husband and 3 children. Many thanks to Gregory for sending me this fascinating article. I really wonder if someone else who was there that day is still with us and by any chance watching this video. Seriously, if you happen to be one of the people gazing through those windows, please let us know in the comments below. As far as I know, there are absolutely no alternate takes of this photo shooting. There is a black and white variation without the Abba logo, but it's the same photo from the album cover, and this seems to be the one and only photograph we have from that day. That makes it the only studio album by Abba from which we have only one photograph of the main artwork. I wish we could see an alternate angle, even from outside, to see the actual car and the people surrounding it. So what is the story of that car, and where is it today? The actual car that Abba was sitting in was a Rolls-Royce Silver Wraith from 1947. That actually fits the theme from the hotel to capture a vibe of the 1930s and 40s. The car used to belong to Torsten Krüger, a Swedish banker. He was the brother of Ivar Krüger, a powerful and famous businessman who had a worldwide empire of match productions. They even made a film about Ivar in 1932, and his brother Torsten used to own the Rolls-Royce in which Abba would be sitting in 1975. Mr. Torsten Krüger was frequently seen on the streets of Stockholm, driven by his chauffeur. At the time of the photo shoot, the car belonged to a new owner who acquired it 6 years earlier in 1969. That owner is actually pictured in the photograph as well as the very driver of Abba. The car was auctioned in 2018, and last year it actually went on display. So today, you can see the actual car at an auto museum in Simrishamn, a small town in southwest Sweden. Let's have a look into the inside of the actual car. Here we are. We can see the round shapes of the windows, the leather seats, and we can even recognize this cord, which we also see in Abba's photo. I wonder if they shot the photograph inside the car on the same day as the back photo in the hotel. Did they drive from here to the hotel, maybe even in the Rolls-Royce? If we compare the clothes in both pictures, it's hard to tell if the lady's wardrobe is exactly the same. At least Agneta shows her legs in the front cover, and Frida has at least an additional fur coat. Björn and Benny seem to wear the exact same costume. Benny even has the identical tie. These questions, especially of the exact spot of this main artwork, perhaps remain open for now. But it is fascinating to find these little clues and to see how it's all connected, to understand how it all went. I hope you enjoyed this journey back in time, back to those original shooting locations and diving deep into the stories of the hotel and the car on Abba's eponymous album from 1975. What are your memories of this specific album and the album cover? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Alright, until then, hey do!